We're here in Silicon Valley, and where it is sunny and clear today, and it's supposed to be about 65 degrees. Just saying that for those of you who are in the East, I knew you'd appreciate that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of reshoring and why it's so important right now. For the past 15 years or so, I've been helping companies look at global manufacturing strategies, and that includes primarily sourcing and manufacturing in China. And as I think you saw in a previous slide, I've written a book about China, and we had a very active global manufacturing environment, and I helped a lot of companies find sources or expand their operations in China from during the 2000s and even a little bit before that. And along came the 2012 presidential elections. And both candidates, both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, were China bashing like crazy, blaming China for stealing all the jobs from the U.S. and the way the economy had gone south and so forth, and really talking a lot about how China had done this terrible damage to the U.S. economy. And so, I'm a little bit embarrassed about what I do for a living when all this was happening. I was afraid to tell people what I do, because it looked really bad. Like we were forcing all these jobs overseas, when in fact it was really a business and economic decision that most companies are making to go to low cost markets. So I started sort of rethinking what I was doing, and in addition to that, I had a little family reunion, and I have 5 grandkids, and I'm looking at them thinking, if I don't change my ways and start helping companies rebuild the U.S. economy, those grandkids aren't going to have a future. So in combination with this happening in 2012 and then in 2013, my team and I redirected and started focusing on reshoring. So helping companies evaluate what part of their manufacturing they could actually bring back to the U.S. So we had this long discussion about why you should reshore now. So first of all, it was the mood of America, and as I said, there's a lot of China bashing going on. There was a lot of focus on how do we rebuild the economy, and as you probably know, our economy was built on the shoulders of a manufacturing environment. At one time, we had a good percentage of our economy related to manufacturing. Today, it's down to about 12%. So it's really dropped dramatically since, say, about the 1950s or 60s. So the mood of America, the need for focusing on manufacturing in the U.S., the upscaling of supply chain management strategies, and by that I mean in the 25 years ago or so, when you talked about manufacturing, it was really related to operations of a company. In today's environment, supply chain has taken a seat at the executive table, and there are C-level executives focused on supply chain management. These people are now thinking about their global strategies, so it's no longer within the 4 walls of a manufacturing plant, but really where in the world should you be manufacturing? And so the whole idea of supply chain has been uplifted to a significant level, a senior level in most organizations. Then the introduction of new technologies has been really important, and that includes things like 3D printing, the capability to print on demand when you have a need for a part, automation through robotics, a very significant trend. Robots used to be these giant machines in automotive plants, but today they look kind of like people and can work side by side with workers. They're relatively inexpensive, easily programmable. So these kind of new technologies have really brought automation to the table in a way that allows you to cut costs. In addition, a lot of U.S. states and the U.S. government So the U.S. government, states, local and county governments are offering incentives for companies to bring manufacturing back. In fact, I was working with a client just the other day who told me that a small town in Illinois had offered a $500,000 check, just write them a check, to bring their manufacturing plant to to their town in Illinois. And that's because it's related, of course, to manufacturing and therefore tax revenues and so forth. So there are incentives like that, and they're everywhere. We have a government outreach program at Blue Silk Consulting where we work with government officials, and I can tell you just about every municipal government is trying to think of ways to encourage manufacturers to come to their area. And this, of course, is because it's related to jobs and to taxes. And so there are many, many incentives that have to be looked at and considered when you're looking at the total cost. So here's a couple success stories. In Starbucks in the early 2013, the first few months of 2013, announced that they were bringing the manufacturing of their ceramic cups. So, you know, when you go into Starbucks and you see the cups that say Manhattan or Chicago or Los Angeles, those cups have been manufactured in China for the past 15 years. And Starbucks announced that they were bringing back the manufacture of ceramic cups for their stores. And they got, you know, day after day after day of great publicity. I mean, everywhere you looked. And of course, I'm sensitive to this because I'm working on reshoring, and so I was, you know, watching the news, and there was all this really great publicity for Starbucks. And so at one point, finally, some reporter asked some questions in depth and said, if you're bringing back manufacturing and opening a plant reopening a plant actually in Ohio to build these mugs, how many jobs does that represent? And they said 12. So we were a little surprised by that. But the point is that they got such great publicity. I mean, really a lot of very positive press that they would not have gotten otherwise. And this was all free, of course, so probably millions of dollars worth of great advertising. 1888 Made Here Towels is another great success story. 1888 Towels is a company that builds or that manufactures all kinds of towels for home use, and they sell at Walmart. Originally, they had made these towels, and then in the 90s had offshored everything to China and closed down their plants in Georgia. In last year, Walmart announced an effort to support support companies that were manufacturing in the U.S. And they allowed 1888 Made Here Towels to get a loan and to start producing towels again at the manufacturing plant in Georgia. Now, that doesn't mean that they offshored and then just brought everything back and it was all the same and so forth. When they actually brought the manufacture of the towels back, they fully automated the plant. And while they didn't reemploy the hundreds of employees that worked there originally, they did reemploy a number of employees. So they actually reopened the plant, automated it through robotics and so forth, and were able to manufacture at a relatively competitive price. And those towels have done very well at Walmart. They're sort of high-end towels. GE Appliances is another great success story. Most of us have water heaters in our houses that heat water all day long, whether you're home or not, whether you're traveling, whether you're off to dinner. Your water heater's working all the time to heat water. Well, GE had innovated a tankless water heater that only heated water on demand. But sales of that particular